Before I actually start working on my character, I want to demonstrate a couple of body sketching methods that I use to quickly draw characters. I'll go to the layer menu and create a new layer by clicking on the plus symbol in the right top corner. You can drag and drop the layer to move it up or down the hierarchy. Layers are helping us by keeping parts of the painting separated from each other. Always make sure you paint your sketch on a separated layer. This way we can easily delete mistakes or adjust parts of the painting throughout the process. I prefer using a bluish or reddish color for my first super rough sketch. Click on the color menu and choose from the color wheel. Red and blue won't give you as much contrast to the white background as black does. So it's helpful to use one of those colors for the first draft. I use black only for the final and clean outlines. I pick a sketching brush from the brush menu. One of my favorite sketching brushes is the Technical Pencil from Procreate. You'll find it under the sketching section. While I'm sketching, I always try to work fast and super rough by only using very simplified, organic shapes. Try to hold your pencil not too close to the nib, it'll help you to create more loose lines. Always look at your references. I like to use circles for the joints and shape the other body parts only roughly. The more you know about anatomy and proportions, the better and faster you will get at this. There are also many methods of creating a rough pose. You can also start with a black silhouette and draw outlines on top of the silhouette. You can do so by creating a new layer and setting the silhouette layer below the outlines on a low opacity. Once you've created your first rough sketch, go ahead and set the layer to a low opacity by clicking on the layer and dragging down the opacity slider. Add a new layer and start drawing clean outlines. I like to use a different color for the second pass, but you could also go ahead with black. It's helpful to draw the body without clothes first and then add the outfit on top of it later. If you do any mistake, you can always undo with a 2-finger tap on your iPad. Now that I showed you some examples on how you can create quick and simple poses, I will start on my character. I usually start with a circle for the head. I then add the chin area. I add a line to mark the position of the eyes and ears. Then I continue with the torso. I try to keep the line of the back in an S shape. Then I highlight the position of the shoulder with a circle and add the arm. In my first draft, I like to keep the fingers as one shape. I'll get into detail with that in a second draft. Finally, I'm going to add the sunflower. Now the first basic draft is done, and I set the layer opacity to a low value so I can overpaint this sketch with a more defined one on a new layer on top of it. This time I'm trying to add more details in areas such as the fingers, eyes, or the ears. Once the proportions are good, I start adding clothes on top of the character. I add clothes at the end because I always want to know the underlying shape to make sure I draw clothes properly. At the end I do a couple of changes before I'll do the final outlines. Now that the second draft is done, again I go ahead and set the layer to a lower opacity. I create a new layer with the final outlines, this time in black. Now I try to work quite clean to make sure shapes are exactly the way I want them to be. You should be 100% satisfied with the outlines at this stage, because changing won't be easy later. So now I notice that the hair of my character is cropped off at the top. I will just go ahead and adjust the canvas size to make the hair fit into the frame. I go to Action, Canvas, Crop and Resize. Now we can either enter new dimensions or drag on the corners to scale up the canvas. Now I have enough space on the top to finalize my sketch. We can also name and group our layers to tidy up our project. You can select multiple layers by swiping left on every additional layer. Then go to the top right and click on Group. Now all selected layers will be grouped. We can also rename a layer by tapping on it and choosing Rename. You can now rearrange layers by using drag and drop. Moving layers on top of each other will also group them. Moving a layer out of the group will automatically ungroup. So here's your task. Create a rough sketch of your character by using one of the techniques I showed you in this lesson. Once you're happy with this simple pose, go ahead and add another layer with clean outlines until your sketch is done.